Welcome to you, my name's Dale and this is Dale's Addiction. Today's video is all about quality issues when we're buying from online luxury boutiques and how those boutiques respond once they're told about these particular issues. Now, these stories are not mine because I have to say, most of the time I will not shop online because I really enjoy the boutique experience and I have the ability to visit the boutiques that I want to most of the time. When I have bought online, I haven't had issues. But that's not to say that those issues don't exist for others. And that's why I put the call out on Instagram and YouTube for you to share your particular issues, because I have a platform here that you might not, and I think it's an important thing to share with people who are shopping online and do see things that make them uncomfortable and don't really know how to handle it. The idea for this video came about because I received a DM from one of my followers who had received her new purple sequin baguette and had some questions about the finish on that piece. And we've had quite a bit of conversation about it, and I thought, this is not the first person who's contacted me about an online purchase. So a purchase that they haven't been into the boutique to inspect. It has been shipped to them and they have never seen it before. So it might be a phone purchase too for you. You might have a texting relationship, whatever the case may be. It also connects to this concept of my video where I said, luxury lovers have lost it. And one of the points in that video that I raised was around the fact that if we're told that a piece is the last one in the boutique, in the country, in the world, we take it. And we might be accepting some substandard quality or not necessarily quality, but there might be some wear on that piece from having been a display item. But we're so worried about missing out that we take it anyway. And then Steph from Handbagholic recently did a video where she talked about, I think the title of the video was, Are Luxury Stores Lying to Us? She's in a WhatsApp group and, without spoiling the context of her video, they discovered that a number of people in that group were sent the same communication about a scarcity of new season's items to encourage them to buy now. And I'd strongly encourage you to go and check out Steph's video because I guess it just puts some context around what are the things that drive our behaviour. So I put a call out on Instagram and YouTube asking you to tell me about your experiences when you've purchased online, when you've been uncertain about the condition of the item that you've received, and how each of those luxury stores responded to your queries. Thank you to everybody who contributed. I am only going to share the ones that are focused on an online or an unseen purchase. So where you've made the purchase and you haven't been able to inspect the item before you've left the store. I do have a couple to add that kind of sit outside of that. But yeah. I've got heaps to get through, so I want to share these with you. Now, I have to apologise for my voice. This is like day 7 of my voice being like this, with a cold that occurred after COVID. I do feel a lot better than I sound, so thanks for your patience in this video. Okay, so the first example that I want to share with you comes from Prada, and I believe that this subscriber lives in the UK. Purchased this Prada raffia tote. Now, on first inspection, absolutely adored the bag, loved it, really happy with it. But looking closer, which is a problem with these kind of woven bags, discovered some kind of loose edges on the woven raffia parts and took photos and sent them to me and said, I'm actually going to send it back because I don't think this is good enough for a bag that costs this much money. Now, I'll put the purchase price on the screen. She contacted Prada through the online chat to inquire about returning the bag because of these issues, and she was informed that the bag is currently out of stock and that she could return the bag, but she would have to reorder the bag when stock came into the online boutique. And we talked about it through the Instagram DMs and thought, Isn't it interesting how you've received a product that has some, finishing issues? You have made contact because she's actually looking to take this bag with her on a holiday the following week to Greece, lucky thing. And instead of of course, this is a problem, please send it right back, let's get on to sourcing another one for you so that you can take it to your holiday, it was simply return the bag, you'll get a refund, and then keep an eye on the website so that you can repurchase the bag when it comes into stock. Absolutely no ownership was taken from Prada to make sure that their client, who had already forked out over £1,000, was going to be taken care of by securing a bag that she still wanted, that just needed to be finished off properly in time for her holiday. Instead, she might have had to return that bag, so be out of pocket for the initial purchase, and then if a new bag came on site, then purchase that as well, so be out of pocket for 2 bags until the refund for the first one came through. So she said, oh, you know what, I don't think I want to risk it because I really want to take this bag to Greece with me. And so she has just snipped off those little edges and hoped for the best. Now, is that something that you should really have to do when you're paying this kind of money? And I guess that's one question. And the other question is, what do you think of the level of service that came through from the Prada online boutique around dealing with that issue and taking ownership of it rather than making it the customer's problem? This next example pains me to say because it comes from my favourite brand, and that's Fendi. This particular person is based in the US and was lucky enough to pre-order the beautiful pink sequin baguette. Now, she received her baguette in April, and when she opened up her package so excitedly, she discovered that the leather tab that holds the buckle for the baguette had actually had colour removed from the leather. And you can see on this picture here, it's very obvious. It's not a small amount, it's quite a significant amount. Now, knowing what everyone went through to be able to pre-order and have their order actually fulfilled and not cancelled, which so many people contacted me and said, I put through my order, I prepaid for it 100%, and then I got an email a month later saying my order couldn't be fulfilled, it's been cancelled. I hear you, it happened to me with my Fendi piece. It's just devastating, and to think I finally got it and it's got this big bit of damage on it. How did this even leave the warehouse or the area where it's dispatched from? So she was actually very lucky and reached out to Fendi. They accepted a return and she was able to order a replacement, which is beautiful. And I'll put that picture here so that we can share in the joy and the beauty of this piece. But I think when you are pre-ordering an item that you have not seen, so it's been made to order basically, and you've had to fork out, Australian dollars is like $6,000 to then receive it and it have damage and not know whether or not you'll be able to secure another one, that's a really anxious experience for a customer. And you can just imagine, if you were her, how it would have felt to receive that and just go, oh my God, like it's got damage. Like, what if this is my only chance to have this bag? Like, do I take it to a spa? And my other question, I suppose, is will that bag be taken to a spa and allocated to someone else? Now, this next example I have shared in the past, and this is a Dior example. My good friend Tonya, who used to have the YouTube channel and still very active on Instagram, 408 California 408, purchased the Dior wicker bag like mine several times. The first time that she purchased it, the charms were in the wrong order. So the charm should have the D on top and the IOR layered down. It's not okay, and yet it left the warehouse and she received that bag. Lucky that she's very details oriented, she sent it back. Then she had to wait for another one to come into stock, which it did. And she wasn't entirely convinced that that one had even wicker across the top, because as we know, they are handmade, so they will have slight imperfections. They're not going to be absolutely perfect. That's fine. While she was not convinced, she decided she'd order another one when it came online so that she had two for comparison. They resent the one with the charms. I mean, how crazy is that? So where is the quality control, Dior? How do you have a bag returned and the reason stated and still redispatch it without even fixing it? I am happy to say that she did finally get her perfect Dior wicker bag. And it's just times like this where I say, you know, I'm not particularly fussy. I don't think that's fussy. I think that that is what you should expect for a bag that costs 8,500 Australian dollars. Yeah, it's handmade, but there's still some things that should be in place to make sure that the quality is as it should be. So this next example is a Louis Vuitton example. And in this example, we're talking about a black empreinte leather pochette Matisse. And I'll put a picture in here. Now, this pochette Matisse arrived 4 to 5 years ago, but the bag, when it arrived, actually did not have the leather empreinte monogram pattern aligning with the clasp. Once she recognised this, she called her SA to return the bag, and the challenge was that the other 3 bags that they had in stock that were exactly the same all had the same issue. One actually had a crooked clasp. So it just goes to show that the more that you actually look at things, the more likely you are to pick up on these things. And if you've got an eye for detail, you know, you're probably going to see a lot more imperfections than what someone like myself who kind of breezes over things might see. It's lucky that I have great sales associates who look at the details for me. But after having these stories shared with me, I think I'll be looking at the details a lot more closely now. It would be even more obvious though on a canvas bag. So if you were to think about, you know, monogram being all skew-if on a canvas bag, it would be super obvious. Less obvious on an empreinte, but still obvious. She said, the bags aren't perfect about such a major thing I think is holding very high standards. No one paid any attention or hoped that we wouldn't, and the SA snootily tried to make excuses that are not true. So I guess this also raises a point around when you do get that uncomfortable feeling that you've got something that's not quite good enough for the money that you've paid, and you reach out for help and understanding to get a sense of if this is normal, what can be done about it, what are the options, what is the thing that's not really making you comfortable, to receive snooty replies from sales associates that aren't helpful and they're just putting you down and saying you're being too fussy, maybe this is not the right bag for you, these bags are handmade, you know. It's not a pleasant experience. It's definitely not a luxury experience. This example is a Chanel example. Chanel in Zurich. One of my subscribers had the beautiful black denim Chanel flap, just like my blue denim Chanel flap, and noticed that one of the grommets that the chain moves through was actually loose. The counterpart on the inside of the flap was missing completely, and you can see that in these photos. She said she was shocked that this passed Chanel's quality control, and her SA in Zurich was quite professional about it, but they still had to send it to Paris for repair, and she had to wait for 3 months to get it back. So I think one of the things that I guess you really put your trust in, and that we've all been doing so much more since the pandemic, has been buying sight unseen, buying online, buying through an SA contact, or buying through a personal shopper. Now, how do you, I guess, it just raises the risk factor, doesn't it, when you don't get to see these things, and yet somebody else who has handled the bag and packaged it up and sent it to you, like, that's not done by robots, still hasn't seen these things or has overlooked them and gone, oh well, she'll be right. Now these two pain me to say because they are both Fendi examples, again with sequins. So anyone who's going to be receiving sequins, you need to take a good look at them, okay? And you need to realise, yes, they are handmade. Yes, there will be variations. but there are some things that you might not be okay with. This example was one of my followers purchased the Fendi Nano Baguette in the purple sequin 3 times, and each of those times there were issues with the finish on the Nano Baguette. Times with the buckle, with creasing, the placement of the sequins, and I'll circle and highlight those in the pictures here. But you know, it's very clear that this is a person who really wants that bag, so much so that she's purchased it 3 times to get the quality and the finish that she requires. The scary thing is, and I was chatting to Megan from Train Girl Megan. She had exactly the same situation in the New York Fendi store, where the SA pointed out the damage. But as in to say, well, you know, if you like this, we have it. It is damaged, but it's for sale, you know. So just letting you know that there is, and there's no discount. There's no like, you know, oh, it's no returns. But if you accept the quality of this, like it's there. And you think, in a luxury store, should damaged goods be on display? Another friend of mine, Nadia, recently went shopping in Melbourne for a Louis Vuitton on-the-go tote, and the tote that was pulled out of the drawer to show her was malformed. It looked like it had been squished in a drawer and other things had been pushed on top of it, and they quite happily showed that as an example of that bag. And you're thinking, is it just me, or does that bag, you know, not look great? And if I didn't have the same standards as the next person, might someone else buy this bag as it is from Louis Vuitton and pay all this money for a bag that has obvious issues? Another subscriber and fellow YouTuber, Claire Louise, mentioned in her recent Fendace unboxing that she purchased a card holder and there was an issue with the printing on that card holder, where there were some spots where the printing hadn't quite kind of purchased to the materials on the card holder, and she was able to send that back and had great customer service. But still, you know, these things, they need to go through some kind of quality. People who are selling them need to care enough to make sure that they're perfect when they sell them, because you haven't had the opportunity to personally inspect them. This next example comes from Dior and a fellow YouTuber, Totes Jean. This is a small Dior camp bag, and upon filming a YouTube video and doing a review, realised that where the straps are on the bag, they're not actually centred to the flap. So it's all a bit skew-iff. You can see that it goes, I'm trying to think, if you're watching this video, it's all centered toward the left side of the bag, if that makes sense. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And again, you know, that's a real challenge, I suppose. Now, Dior exchanged that bag with no questions asked, which is a great outcome. But still, what is the quality check process? Like, how does it get through being a finished bag, being checked, being dispatched to a store, being opened by a client advisor at the store, being put on the shop floor if it makes it that far, being packaged up in the beautiful gift wrap that we love, and sent out to a customer without anybody noticing that? Now, here's one from YSL that's very similar to the one that Steph from Handbag Holic mentioned in her video, whereby a Saint Laurent wallet on chain, Cassandra wallet on chain, was purchased through a private sale, came from Italy, and had rusty grommets on it. I'm just like, and so what do? Do you return it? Like, it's a bit hard to send it all the way back to Italy and all that muck around. And so this particular person ended up keeping it because it was just too much of a hassle to send it back, to then potentially reorder and have to pay full price for one, which is kind of besides the point of the sale anyway. But in the sale terms and conditions, it wasn't mentioned that there would be quality issues. Now, this final story breaks my heart, and it's a Louis Vuitton story. So Amy sent me this email. Hi Dale, this is Amy, one of your subbies. I have a story for you and an experience I had at Louis Vuitton. You're more than welcome to use it for your YouTube channel if you like. My friend and I both celebrate our birthdays in January, hers at the beginning of the month and mine at the end. In January 2021, we decided to travel 3 hours to the nearest Louis Vuitton boutique with our husbands and purchase a new handbag for our birthdays. We were so excited. It was during the dreadful COVID, so when we arrived that afternoon to the boutique, of course we had to wear our masks, bathe in sanitizer, but we didn't realise the store would be 90 degrees inside, lol. Needless to say, we were hot. We had one CA that was helping us both, and she knew we wanted the Speedy B30. But I wasn't sure of what I wanted. After trying on a couple of bags, I decided on the Sienna PM. Unfortunately, this was only the second time I had purchased a bag in store, and I was naive in thinking that luxury meant perfect. Between my friend dancing around the store in excitement, looking at sunglasses, SLGs and perfume, and then the CA bringing out an assortment of bandos to try and sell, I didn't really have a chance to look over my bag if I had wanted to. He scooped both bags up and went to box them as we were led by the manager to pay for our items. When we left for the car, the sun had started to set since it was winter. We were very excited to use our new bags, so we changed into them, sitting in the car, and then off to dinner we went. What a fun time this sounds like. By the time dinner was over and it was so dark outside, we started our 3-hour journey back home. As soon as I got home, I emptied my items out of the Sienna PM and put it back in the box, since my birthday wasn't until the end of the month. I opened up my handbag on my birthday and set it aside for about 2 weeks. So when I decided to carry the bag, it had been 33 days since I'd made the purchase. I was looking over my bag and admiring it until I started to see loose threads, glue under the side leather tabs, bubbling on one of the leather handles. I was horrified, to say the least. I'd just spent $1,800 on this bag only 33 days before. I contacted the CA immediately, sent pictures, explained the issues, and he totally ghosted me. I really didn't know what to do with it being over the 30-day return window. I didn't think there was anything I could do, honestly. I ended up never using the handbag again. It sat in the box for another 2 months until I submitted it to Fashion File. I did include pictures of the issues. They offered me $1,100 for store credit, and I took it. I hated the bag at that point and just wanted it gone. I lost $700 and used the bag only once, that night. But I did learn a valuable lesson, so I got something out of it. I still recommend Louis Vuitton, but I also recommend to look over every inch of your items that you purchase from them. The end. You know, whether it's online or in store, I think some of the takeaways from these stories that you've so generously shared, there were a lot more stories, but some didn't come with photographs, and some were more about in-store experiences, and obviously this video would be so long if I shared them all, so I just kind of pulled out these ones. I think the takeaway message is for us that the only person that really cares about our happiness is us. And if you're somebody that would see something like that and not be able to unsee it, there's a couple of tips that I'd give you. 1, make sure that not only do you get photos, but you also get videos of any bags that you're purchasing through a direct CA relationship where you're getting text messages or WhatsApp messages and the like. If you're buying online, make sure there's a returns period and check that bag, take photos of it, send it to your bag loving friends and get them to check the bag too, to make sure that they can see something, they might be able to see something that you can't. Return it in the returns period. If it's through a direct relationship, you still need to make people aware that you're not happy. And if you don't get a resolution that you're satisfied with, escalate your complaints. Thank you again so much to everyone who shared. I think, you know, for me, the eye-opener has been how lucky that I've been with all of my luxury bag purchases, and probably a bit ambivalent and something that I need to focus on a little bit more. So thanks for listening if you've made it this far. Hopefully next time I talk to you, I'm not as nasal, but if you've had an experience that you'd like to share in the comments below, please do so. Sharing is caring. The more informed we are, the better decisions that we can make. And if you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I put out videos on Wednesdays and Sundays, so I will see you in my next one. Bye.